everybody. I'm Dr. Cindy Howard, a chiropractic internist and nutritionist, and your host of the Positively Altered podcast. So, I have an interesting question for all of you out there. We talk a lot about health, but did you ever think about the health of your business, not just your body? Well, my next guest is going to talk about that. And here's what's amazing. His energy is infectious. It is fun without it being frantic. We are going to have such a good time, but I'm not telling you who it is yet. You're going to have to take a quick listen to my sponsor because they're super important to me. Grab that cup of coffee. Oh, wait, you're not going to need coffee for this. We're going to give you the energy you need. We are going to be right back, and I will introduce you to my next guest.
Hello, my name is Heather Lord, and I am the COO of Professional Health Products. Cutting corners is an all too common practice in the dietary supplement industry. When my father founded Professional Health Products, he sourced the cleanest, most biologically active ingredients from around the globe. Today, that commitment remains, which is why the finest healthcare practitioners, like Dr. Cindy, have trusted us for more than 40 years. We oversee the entire process in our manufacturing facility, from sourcing and formulation to manufacturing and labeling. Today, we offer over 300 unique products that can be tailored to the nutritional and homeopathic needs of each individual. Most recently, we launched a proprietary genetic test, allowing our practitioners to get even more dialed in to their patients' health. To learn more about Professional Health Products, please talk to your practitioner or visit our website at phpltd.com.
Today, your life is going to be altered. I'm Dr. Cindy.
Welcome to Infinity. We have worked hard to create an electronic claims website that is simple and user-friendly. This is the public side. You can log into your personal web portal here. This is your dashboard. You can personalize it to your liking here. Our main focus has been to allow you to submit and edit claims as easy as possible. You will find our claims editor and claims processing is simple to use and straightforward. Our quick action bar is where you can find your most important information. Most of these icons will take you directly to the claims the number represents. You can easily view if you have any messages in your inbox of any unread alerts by looking for these blue numbers. To view the rest of our training videos to get the most of your Infinity experience, click this icon. We hope you find this web portal simple and easy to use. Thanks for letting us serve you.
I'm Dr. Cindy. Who wouldn't want to join me for the Positively Altered podcast? And we are back. I'm so glad you hung around because my next guest, who you are seeing, is making faces and I think doing jazz hands, right? Although I do have to tell you, he wears great jackets and not today. I'm a little disappointed in the plain collar. My friend and our guest today, Joey Coleman. Joey.
Oh, Dr. Cindy, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks to everybody who's listening in. I am so excited for our conversation tonight.
This is awesome. So let's talk about you for like a hot second because you're really important, right? You're important. No, you are. You're important because you speak all over the world, right? And I'm going to ask you where your favorite place is in a minute. You're a best-selling author, Wall Street, right? Wall Street has raved about you. There's 2 books, Never Lose an Employee Again, Never Lose a Customer Again. And I'm going to ask you, like, how do you never lose your dog? I think there's a 3rd book in here somewhere, right? We're going to talk about that today. And you host a podcast. You're on podcasts. You're a coach. I don't even know. Like, the list goes on and on about how amazing and awesome you truly are. What's your favorite thing that you are? What is your favorite?
You are too kind. You are too kind, Cindy. I am definitely have had an eclectic career. I still have a very eclectic career. I'm involved in a lot of things. The thing I probably have the most fun being is either husband to the most amazing woman on the planet or father to 2 amazing growing boys. So that's what I love doing the most. But I also love giving speeches. I love traveling. I love collecting art. I love helping organizations figure out how to get better at the experiences they create for their clients or their patients or their customers or their employees or all of the above. Basically, anyone you serve, how can we make the experiences you're delivering to them even better than they are today?
Oh my gosh. So we have a lot to talk about. Like, I kept coming up with questions as you're rolling through all those things, and now I forgot like 80% of them. But we're going to come back, right? We're going to go through this. So let's start first with, I'd love to talk about this whole premise of keeping something, right? But let's tie it into the health of something. Why is it healthy to figure out why it's important to keep employees, keep customers?
Well, knowing how many folks are that listen to your show are big fans of health in general and life. I mean, let's look at human biology, right? As a general premise, humans love the chase. We love, how can we get something new? How can we try something different? How can we try something unique? And that is brilliant and that is beautiful for the human condition. That is not necessarily a recipe for success when it comes to your business. Okay? If your business is constantly chasing the next shiny object, the new technique, the new way to do things, but you're not taking care of the people that are already in the fold, it's like chasing the newest health fad without doing the basic things that we know we need to do for our bodies all day, every day, which is get enough sleep, eat nutritious food, drink our water, etc. And so keeping your customers, keeping your employees, keeping the things that you worked so hard to find and acquire in the first place is a fundamental aspect of any healthy business.
Now, if we take your stories, right, in your book, can we replace the word customers and employees with family and friends?
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, so my first book was called Never Lose a Customer Again. When I was writing my second book, Never Lose an Employee Again, I'm not making this up. The first thing I did was take the entire book, the manuscript from the first book, do a find and replace. Every time I said customer, put in employee, and then I read the book from front to end to make sure it still worked philosophically, conceptually, as a framework. And when it did, I said, okay, now I've got something that I can run with. And then I proceeded to write the second book, but I had kind of already tested it. And you're absolutely right. I had people say to me, Joey, can I use this in dating? Can I use this with my significant other? Can I use this with my children, my friends? Absolutely, because all of the work I do is based on fundamental human operations. Why do humans operate the way they do? And what can we do to convince, persuade, encourage them to operate in a way that is symbiotic with our way of being and our way of operating?
So here's the lousy question, right? Give me the top 3 ways to do this. Isn't that a lousy question?
I don't think it's a lousy question. I understand the desire to how can we, what are some quick hits, things we can do? I mean, the first thing I would say is, do you really have the type of connection with the people in your life that you want? Do you have the type of connection with your, let's take it customers first, or patients or clients, and we'll look at that side, and then we'll switch it to employees. So people say, oh, my customer really matters. I care about them individually. And yet most businesses, the first thing they do is assign them a customer number. That's interesting, right?
Well, if it's number one, it's good, right? Joey.
Yeah, if it's customer number one, when we first start, we're great. As a general rule, most businesses are really great at taking care of their customers at the very beginning because there aren't a lot to take care of. As a general rule, most employers are really good at taking care of their employees when they just have 1 or 2 because there's not that many that we're trying to keep track of. It's when we grow, when we scale, that things get messy and start to fall apart. It's when we add other members of the team that we expect them to deliver the same level of remarkable care and attention that we did as founders or the people that started it. That's where things break down. So the first thing I would ask is get honest about whether you actually have personal and emotional connections with the people you interact with. The second question would be, okay, as a general rule, since I'm guessing you're going to answer no to those questions, well, what can you do to establish personal and emotional connections? Let's look at the employee side. The businesses of the future, the businesses that are going to be the top employers, the places where everybody wants to work for the next 20 plus years, are the businesses that care more about what their employees are doing between 5 p.m. and 9 a.m. than care about what their employees are doing between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. What do I mean by that? They're going to care about their people as people, not as cogs in a machine, not as just employees. And when your team members know that you care about them as humans, as individuals, you care about what's going on in their personal life, you're supportive of the challenges they're facing with their, raising their kids or aging parents or navigating their own personal life or whatever it may be. I'm not saying you have to dip into every aspect of their personal life, and you shouldn't. But you should have the type of relationship in the space that if they're struggling with something outside of work, there's an opportunity for you as the employer to be supportive there. And then I would say is the third thing is take action. So great, we know we've got a problem that we don't have enough personal and emotional connection. We look and we say, oh, we need to make more personal and emotional connection. Well, how do we do that? We start caring about the things that matter to them outside the world. Well, then what is the take action we can do? The take action could be as simple as, hey, you happen to notice on one of your employees' social media pages that they are fundraising for their kids' elementary school. Well, how do you know that? Because you're friends with them on social media and you look at their social media page. Some people right now are saying, oh my gosh, I've never even thought of doing that. They are telling the world what's important to them on their social media pages all day, every day. You go on that and you see that, oh, one of your employees is fundraising for the local school, and you make a donation, or you come to them and say, hey, what can we donate as a company? Now that employee says, you care about me for more than the work I do. Same thing with our clients. What are they into? We've got friends that are, you and I originally got connected for our mutual friend, Dr. Jay Greenstein, right? Jay's
Right.
an amazing guy. Anyone that knows Jay for more than about 20 minutes knows that Jay is a huge fan of Ohio State, right? The Ohio State Buckeyes. So what can we do with that? Well, if the Buckeyes win a big game, we can send him a text message that says, hey, congrats on the great game tonight. Now Jay says, oh, you care about me as a person, not just as a doctor. You care about me as a human, not just as a provider. That's how we change the conversations.
So wearing my Wisconsin Badgers jersey, since that's where I graduated from,
I love it.
Probably not a great way to make a connection then.
Well, here's the interesting thing about connections. Connections don't always have to be about commonality. They can be about polarity as well. So I went to the University of Notre Dame, which if we think of Ohio State, the Badgers, and the Fighting Irish, there's clearly only one choice as to which is the best team.
Absolutely.
That'd be the Fighting
Go Buccaneers.
Irish. And so the moral of the story here is we can have a disagreement about which is the best team, but the fact that we all have a love for college sports creates a point of commonality despite the polarity of the teams that we're rooting for.
I love it even if you wear the wrong colors. It's brilliant.
There you go. Exactly.
It is, right? Okay, so let me ask this question. What if it's the opposite, right? So like I'm an employer. What if I have employees or customers that won't allow that, right? They don't want to be friends with me on Facebook. They don't share personal anecdotes. How do I create those connections with people who are that closed off? And are they then the wrong employee or customer?
I could make an argument that depending on how you want to run your business, you want to get clear on what the level of openness and connection that you have with your people are, whether that's your individual team members or the customers or clients that you're serving. What I think we need to recognize is not everyone likes to divulge as many of the things as some of us do. But here's the thing. I have yet to find a human being that doesn't have 2 or 3 things that they're excited about or willing to geek out about or happy to talk about. Now, they may not want to talk about their child. Like I've mentioned that I have 2 boys, but out of respect for their privacy, I'm not going to get into big conversations about what they're in or what they're there. That's their choice to make when they're older. They're minors. So I'm going to buffer that a little bit. But if you want to talk to me about me, what I love, what I'm excited about, I'm more than happy to have conversations. So I think it's about the dance with the people we interact with and saying, what are the things that are safe areas to get into and discuss, and what are things that maybe they want to be a little more private about? And that's totally fine. It's just, what is the environment we're creating, whether that's in the workplace in terms of our team members and our employees, or in the workplace in terms of our customers, clients, or patients.
So how do we get rid of customers and employees we don't like?
You fire them.
Oh, okay. That was easy.
It's that simple. And I believe every business on an annual basis should look through their entire list of clients and say, is there anybody we need to fire? And everybody should look through their employees and say, is there anybody we need to fire? Now, I'm not a fan of let's just go fire people willy-nilly. But what I am saying is as your business grows, as it develops, some of the people that made sense to be in relationship in the beginning are not people you should be in relationship with going forward. We see this in our personal lives. Mm-hmm. If we all were to think back to the very first person we ever dated, there may be some really wonderful positive attributes about that person, but we're probably a little more seasoned now to say, in hindsight, that was never going to work long term. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that relationship was bad. It just means we don't need to continue to put effort into it today.
I love that. I know through my journey, and especially walking through Hodgkin's lymphoma, there were a lot of people that I felt were good friends that I realized it wasn't the right time or the right place for those good friends to exist at that time. And I had to learn really pretty quickly how to say it's okay, right? To let people go. And I learned, and I'm curious your thoughts on this mantra, that, I do believe there are some people that are designed to walk through your life in seconds. You may not even know their name, and others that are designed to stay decades. And sometimes we shouldn't work so hard to hold on to people that aren't designed to be there for a long time.
Cindy, I totally agree. It's seconds or seasons. What is the season of the life that they're in? And I certainly have had amazing relationships that have transcended multiple seasons, but I've had plenty that were just great for that season. People ask me all the time, they're like, Joey, why are you such an advocate of keeping every customer and keeping every employee? And I'm like, that's not what the books are called. The books are called Never Lose a Customer Again and Never Lose an Employee Again. I'm in favor of you not having someone leave that you wished would stay. That's the distinction here. I'm not saying keep all of them. I'm saying keep the ones you really want to keep.
Okay, so if we build a connection and we do that really well, are there any other fatal flaws that we commit that will ruin that relationship?
Oh, we take people for granted. That's probably the biggest fatal flaw with the long-term relationships. I guarantee that everybody listening has friendships, clients, customers, patients, employees who have been with you for a long time that you're just taking for granted. Why do I know this to be true? Because you're human. Not because you're bad, not because you're doing something wrong, because you're human. I'm guilty of this as well. So the question then becomes, what are you doing? What systems and processes are you putting in place in your business to help counteract the natural human tendency to take people for granted over the long term? So what are you doing to celebrate your long-term employees? Do you celebrate anniversaries? Some people, I had a client not too long ago. They came to me and they said, Joey, I made a huge mistake today. I said, all right, tell me about the mistake. They said, I was walking through the office and one of our team members came up to me and said, guess what today is? And I was like, Tuesday? And they were like, no, it's my 7-year anniversary of joining the firm. Now, the CEO who told me this felt terrible. Mm-hmm. And I said, here's the thing, don't feel terrible. The fact that you noticed that was a problem means you're on the right track. The fact that you said, oh my gosh, I feel terrible that I didn't know, actually means you're a good person. So what are we going to do to avoid that going forward? He's like, I don't know. I said, great, here's what we do. I said, go to your head of HR. Have your head of HR give you the start date of every employee that's currently on your roster. Put it in your calendar in the same way you might put a birthday of a loved one or an anniversary of your marriage or whatever it may be. Put it in your calendar as a red letter day and make sure you never forget an anniversary again.
So he owned it.
And then
fixed it.
And then fixed it. And the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Right.
Then we can move into solutions. You can't just automatically be like, oh, let's go to solutions. No. We got to be aware of the fact that we missed the opportunity. And so when I say there are relationships in your life that you're taking for granted, the question for everybody listening is, well, which ones? Mm-hmm. Immediately, as a human being, you probably thought of someone. You probably thought of a client of, gosh, that's been a really loyal client. You're right, I haven't heard from them in ages. Or, that client produces so much revenue for us every month. When's the last time I thanked them for their business? Or, oh, that employee is with me through thick and thin. When is the last time I told them how much I value and appreciate them?
So it's that they know they're appreciated or loved. Really? Do they? Have you shown them?
Exactly.
Right?
And
Have
here's
you said
the thing.
The words?
Most employers are either good at showing or telling. They're not good at both. Okay?
Interesting.
So when we were kids in kindergarten, you might have had show and tell. The cool thing about show and tell is everybody brought a prop. They brought something and they showed it to us and then they told us about it. When we think about our clients, when we think about our employees, when we think about our patients, our customers, are you showing them that you value them? And are you telling them that you value them? So you might be showing them by saying, well, they're grandfathered in. They're paying our lowest rates. Our rates have gone up. They still get the special deal. Well, do they know that? Or have you just done that and they're not aware of that? Are you telling them how much you value them? Or are you saying, oh, we really value you. You're amazing. But if they go on your website, if they're a new customer signing up, they'd pay half of what they're paying as an existing customer. This is the classic cell phone company move, right? Classic cell phone company. If I go and buy your cell phone and come as a new member or your new cable company member, new cable company customer, I get this amazing deal. But if I've been part of your company for 10 years, I'm paying 8 times what a new customer's paying. That's ludicrous. It's because those companies, as a general premise, value the new ones, the new shiny object, over the existing ones. And that's why those companies go out of business.
So some of this makes a lasting impression. So I have to share with you something funny. When you said show and tell, it brought me back to my childhood. I think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, and I was over at my neighbor's house, a little boy named Matthew. We were the same age, and he decided to show me his underwear with cars on it. I will never forget that, Joey. So maybe to show and tell, you have to be careful as well what you're actually showing.
100%. And this ties back to the earlier comment you made, Cindy, about, well, how personal are we getting and how much are we showing and how much are we telling, right? Still be appropriate, still be professional, but you can decide what you want to lean into. And what I know to be true is that in this day and age, human beings are dying for connection.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Surgeon General saying that loneliness is one of the most dangerous threats facing society. We have a world that is more connected today than at any other time in human history, and yet loneliness and feelings of abandonment and isolation are higher on every chart that's measuring them than at any other time in human history. Why is that? Because our connections are digital, not analog. Because our connections are tangential, not real. The idea that we go on Facebook and we're like, oh, we have 5,000 friends. No, you don't. You have 5,000 acquaintances at best.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of those are actual friends. And I'm not opposed to you having an online presence or having followers or fans. I'm opposed to you thinking that those are friendships. I'm opposed to you thinking that those are folks that you can count on, and vice versa. If you are following someone and you're one of 2.8 million followers, while on one hand, hopefully they appreciate your following, if you dilute yourself into thinking you have a friendship, you're just as guilty as they are of presuming that you're a loyal friend.
Right.
What is our opportunity to lean into the analog? What is our opportunity to think about in-person interactions, sending physical notes, giving people in-person gifts, things that actually have a physical, tangible relationship to counterbalance this increasingly remote digital world we live in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think back to freshman year, my son was playing football, and all the neighborhood kids, the parents, they weren't driving yet to high school, right? So we were the chauffeurs, right?
Sure.
For the kids. And I would pick up, so my son would be in the front seat, and we'd pick up 2 or 3 other boys that would sit in the back seat, silence, right? Not a word. And I'd go, good morning. And they would reply to me. And one day I looked at the boys and I'm like, how come you guys don't say good morning to each other? And they go, oh, we did. We snapped. I'm like, you guys are sitting 6 inches from each other and you snapped good morning? This is right? And I said, oh, no, not in my car. We say good morning in my car, Nice. And I think they were a little mortified because they're used to snapping each other good morning, which I guess is better than nothing.
Right.
But, in my car, we're going to have a conversation.
But then what happened? Once you set the ground rules, once you set the expectation, I'd be willing to bet, Cindy, that you'd pick them up and they'd start talking to each other.
Oh my gosh. And boy, did I get good information after practice when they were jazzed up. I could probe all kinds of fun things.
Totally. And here's the thing. We, as a general rule, the ethic or the rules or the framework of the environment we're in becomes governing. You were asking earlier, well, what if we've got employees or clients that aren't as forthcoming? Well, how did that not get sussed out in the interview process? How did you not figure that out when you were hiring? Why is that not in your job description? Why in the job description does it not say, if you're not ready to talk college sports, your relationship with your parents, and what's working or not working with your kids, you probably shouldn't apply? Now, some people might say that and say, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. I would never talk about those things at work. Great. Don't waste your time interviewing them. Other people might say, that's the kind of place I want to be. This is great. So now you will naturally attract the type of person who's going to thrive in that environment. I think as leaders, and I know a lot of your listeners are leaders, I think as leaders, we have the opportunity to go first. What I mean by go first is we set the standard. So like one of the things I've done with my team, if I'm having a particularly bad day or a challenging day or something's going on in my personal life that is impacting how I show up, I volunteer that. I'll get on a call and I'll say, hey guys, just want you to know I'm having a tough go of it today. didn't get a lot of sleep last night. We're dealing with something on the family side. And I don't get into the details, but I'll just say dealing with something on the personal family side here on the home front that is impacting my ability to be fully present, but I didn't want to cancel our call. So I'm asking in advance for your understanding and your patience while we navigate this.
I love that.
After I've done that 4 or 5 times, guess what happens? Now an employee feels comfortable saying, hey, Joey, by the way, was out celebrating my roommate's birthday last night, was out super late, not really firing on all cylinders today. You know what? Thank you for the heads up on that. I hope you guys had a great time at the birthday celebration. Let's see if we can make this meeting a little bit shorter, right? Because now we're saying, I'm a human, you're a human, let's interact as humans.
Right. And it's okay, right? People are allowed to be human.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And should be.
Right. We always joke, it's that whole mantra sort of as a business where we say, okay, you leave your crap at the front door, right? Because, and I hear you, right?
I hear you.
Right?
Like on one hand, yes, don't bring your drama to work, but bring yourself to work.
Correct.
There's a distinction.
There is. And
I'm not a fan of the drama.
No.
But I am a fan of you bringing yourself.
Right. And I've always said to employees then too, I'm like, look, if you have to walk through the door with something, to your point, say, hey, Dr. Cindy, can we go in the room? Can we chat for 10 minutes? Tell me what's going on. Let's hash it out. Cry, yell, scream, punch. Maybe not punch. That's probably not appropriate. But, do what you've got to do, right? Let's take the, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, hopefully not 3 hours, but whatever it is. And then let's figure out, to your point, how to navigate the rest of the day so that I get the best you that I can have, the patients get the best you that they can have, and you get the best you that you can have for the remainder of the day.
100%. Right? Here's the thing that blows my mind. Why is it that so many businesses think nothing of asking an employee to stay late, to answer their email after hours, to be on that phone call with the Australia team at the middle of the night, to, go above and beyond for a client, and yet have such a problem with, I cannot believe that they showed up today and they're going through their divorce and they just can't handle it. It's like, I'm sorry, what? You have no problem with work bleeding into personal, but when personal starts to bleed into work, suddenly you're offended? Stop it. Get out of business. Just I don't even have time for it anymore. It's
right.
Like we've got to do better.
It's like a lot of the businesses have just lost the human element.
Exactly.
Overall.
And where we're seeing that pendulum swing back is it used to be, well, that's okay. We can just find another worker.
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. And by the way, for all the people that are listening, they're like, oh, I was talking with a CEO. This is within the last 30 days, who said to me, well, as soon as all those millennials move out of their parents' basement and stop cashing their COVID checks. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you even talking about? Like, are you kidding me? Just retire. Just retire, because you are so delusional as to what the reality of the day is. I was like, this isn't, all you have to do, you look at the demographics data, you look at the trends. This situation is not getting better for a minimum of 20 years, if ever. It's going to be a minimum of 20 years, if ever. And so it's like, you better start being better about taking care of your people, whether those are your customers, your patients, your clients, or your team members.
Yeah, I do something, and as much as I think there's a lot of things I do well, I'm sure there's a lot of things I don't, right? We all have to learn and grow and do that. But I will tell you one thing I do at the end of every single day is I thank my team members for being there, being present, and helping me take care of patients. And when I get a compliment, I pass it on. Or if I see them do something really well that day, I pass it on. And when I see them do something not well, there's never a critique, if you will, but there's a conversation to say, how could we have done this differently to get a better outcome versus I don't like what you did today. And I'm very conscious of trying to make that environment such that I tell everybody, I love what I do. I love going to work. I do. There's not a day, every once in a while when it rains, a good book and a fire would be lovely.
Sure.
But I love going to work. It's a happy place for me. And if you're truly not enjoying being in that space at work, I will write you the best letter of recommendation I possibly can for you to find another position. But I want you to enjoy being here. So how do we, and we have those conversations as a team, how do we do things differently, better, uniquely to create that environment in our office? And it's really important to me to do that.
It's so true. I'm a big fan of the concept of get curious before you get critical. When somebody on your team does something that you're like, oh, that was wrong, get curious. Hey, why did you do that way? Oh, that's the way we're supposed to do it. Oh, interesting. What makes you say that? Well, when I was getting trained by Barbara, who used to be here, she said that what we do is blah, 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 blah. And then you realize, oh my gosh, it's not that this person is bad. It's this person was told the wrong thing. We need better systems. We need better process. Barbara, if I would have known that you were trained by Barbara, I would have told you, oh my gosh, we got to redo your training, because I knew that she was a bad egg when she was doing the training before. And I had forgotten that that's how you came up, or whatever it may be. Not picking on the Barbaras out there, right? But basically trying to say the more we can be curious instead of critical, the better our lives will be.
Right. So we can figure out how to never lose a customer and how to not lose an employee. But what if you're the employee or the customer that can't hold on to a boss or a company? Do some of the same things, apply the other direction?
I think they do. I mean, on the employee side, what I will say is you are living at one of the best times in the history of the world to be an employee. And here's why. 50 years ago, just 50 years ago, right? That's less years than I've been alive, right? 50 years ago, it is highly likely that your employer was headquartered within 30 miles of your house. You had to be at work between 9 and 5. Mm-hmm. You got 2 weeks of vacation off. You were paid a certain wage that was pretty similar to most of the other companies in your town and what they were paying. And that was the norm. In this day and age, if you are working for an employer who's based within 30 miles of your home, what it probably tells me is you are working in a hands-on industry like chiropractic care, for example, or physical health care. It probably tells me that there's an opportunity for you to be exploring other options. It probably tells me there is a possibility for you to be commanding a higher salary than you are. It probably tells me that there's a lot of areas where you could get curious. And I think what happens is people get used to human beings, as much as we like the shiny new thing, we also get in ruts. And we like a rote set of behaviors. And what often happens is we get in a rut and we start blaming everyone else for the rut instead of acknowledging that we put ourselves in the rut and chose to stay in the rut. What I will say about employees, if you go to work, you mentioned kind of those rainy days where you just wish you could stay home. I have lived by a personal philosophy, and let's be clear, this could come from a place of privilege, and it probably does come from a place of privilege, but I also think there's more of an opportunity today than at any other time in history. If you go to work and you absolutely hate your job, I mean you loathe it, you don't like the people you work with, you don't like the type of work you do, you don't like the type of customers or clients or patients you serve, it's absolutely miserable. And it feels that way for 2 consecutive weeks. The reason I say 2 weeks is we all have bad days. Mm-hmm. Every business is going to have their busy times or their hard periods. But if it is 2 consecutive weeks of you waking up and looking in the mirror in the morning while you're brushing your teeth, getting ready for work, saying, I hate the way this is going. I can't stand my life. I can't stand my work. I can't stand my boss. I can't stand the customers. If you say that for 2 consecutive weeks, do everyone in your universe a favor and resign at the end of those 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Resign. And hey, hate to tell you, don't give 2 weeks notice. Just say, guess what? I'm out. I'm out. Because life is too short. Mm-hmm. Life is too short for you personally. Your employer, as an employer, if I had an employee that felt that way, I would want them out.
Yes.
And so you're really helping everyone when you make that choice, including yourself.
I love it, but don't you think most people don't do that out of fear?
Yes, 100% they don't do it out of fear because they're in the rut. And when you're in the rut, stop and think about what a rut actually is. It's like a worn down path in the ground where you're kind of like thinking of a wagon wheel or a tire in a rut that it's going in this direction and it can't get out. The reason there's fear is because we've been down in the bottom of the trench for so long. We've lost sight of the direction we're going, what's to our left and right, and even where we've been. And so we miss the opportunity to see the landscape has changed. The world has evolved. There are new opportunities. There are new possibilities. There are ways to piece together a bunch of different things. You know, you can get spun up to be an Uber or a Lyft driver very quickly. And if you have a driver's license and a car, now you can be making money, which, by the way, one of the cool things about both of those platforms, as I understand it, I've not driven for either, but I talk to a lot of those drivers when I ride. When you're done with a ride, they can press a button and have that money automatically go to their bank account. Mm-hmm. Now, most employers, you get paid every 2 weeks. Uber and Lyft, you can get paid after the ride. So there are a host of possibilities for you to drive revenue and drive revenue very quickly to your personal life by getting creative about what you define as employment.
I love it. So you just need a little, little extra change to go grab a bite to eat.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for Friday, do you?
Correct. Not at all. And you can jump in. And by the way, you can give someone a ride that gets you closer to the place where you wanted to go get some food and then use the money that they paid you to give the ride there to pay for the food you just got.
Right. I have this fun philosophy. I've always tried. So I have 3 kids, right? And I've always taught them, because I believe you should do whatever you love, right? And it's not for me to decide, but I've always said, I want you to figure out what you love. And it may take you 60 years to figure that out, right? Don't ever give up, but find what you love. Figure out what the world needs and figure out how to mesh them together. And when you mesh them together, now you have success because you're not broke, right? Because you can earn a living, but you also don't have that 2 weeks of, I hate my life, I hate my job, I hate my boss. And I'm with you. I'll tell you an interesting story. When I was in chiropractic school, this is my second career, and I started my second one young. There were 2 women in my class that were 55 years old, and people made fun of them. And, their response was, because it was, how could you come back to school when you're 55 years old? By the way, I'm 55 now, and I would love to, and am learning new things.
Sure.
They said, why would we keep doing what we've always been doing when we don't love it, when we could spend 3.5 to 4 years getting an education so we could spend the next 30 years loving what we want to do? And I'll never forget both of them saying that. And I've told that story 1,000 times to people who are like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. It's too late. I'm too old. And I'm like, you know what? That's something you created. That's not truth. Right?
Totally. And it may also be the case. And while I appreciate what you were saying about find the thing you love and then find the Venn diagram of providing to that people, it may be the case that you don't love your work, but you like your work.
That's
fair.
Plenty. That's
plenty. You don't, and this is what I see with young people, and this is not me being critical of young people because I was in their shoes. You get out of school or you get out into the workforce and you think, I've got to find the perfect job. Oh my goodness, life is long. Oh my goodness, there's so much time. There's so much more time than you think there is. And I'm not saying sit in a job that you hate, but what I am saying is don't presume that you have to hit the grand slam home run on your first job.
So it might take a few years or a few decades.
It might take a few years. It might take a few decades, as long as you stay curious. Mm-hmm. And here's the other thing. It can change.
Right.
In my career, I've worked for the United States Secret Service. I've worked for the White House Office of Counsel to the President. I've worked for the Central Intelligence Agency. I've been a criminal defense lawyer. I've been a Fortune 500 salesperson. I ran an ad agency. I ran a promotional products business. I've been a full-time professional speaker. I've been an author. I've done a lot of different things. I loved all of those things at the time.
Right.
I don't love all of them now. If you said, oh, you've got to go do one of them right now, I might not be as excited about some of those things. But at the time, I absolutely loved it. And then I found something that I loved even more, and I transitioned to that. Again, I recognize this may come from a place of privilege, but I think it's a privilege that more people could have if they were willing to get out of their own way and say, what actually do I enjoy doing? And what are the things I like versus the things I love?
So it's a great question. What do I enjoy doing, right? And I think we all should ask that. Real quick before we take a break, Joey, what's next for you then? What's getting you jazzed in your next days, weeks, months?
You know, what I'm really excited about right now, Cindy, is the confluence between caring about your customers or your clients or your patients and caring about your team members, right? So some people look and they're like, Joey, you have 2 separate books on this. I'm like, I have 2 sides of the same coin. As you enhance your customer experience, your employees are happier to come to work. As you enhance your employee experience, they treat your customers better. So I'm incredibly interested these days in the connections between the employee experience and the customer experience and how we can elevate both of those.
I'm excited to see what you're doing. All right, you guys, don't disappear for too long, but we've got a couple announcements again from some really important people that help sponsor the program. And then we're going to come back. Joey, you don't know this, but we're going to have some fun. I got some rapid fire questions. I want to see what your answers are, okay?
I'm ready for them. Let's do it.
More jazz hands. I love the jazz hands. All right, we'll be right back. This is your weekly dose of Dr. Cindy, the Positively Altered podcast. stop, hit that follow button now and spread the love with Positively Altered. I'm Dr. Cindy, your host of the Positively Altered podcast. My guest, Joey Coleman, has been spending some time with us. More jazz hands, Joey. Love it. And we're going to do our rapid fire questions. You ready, Joey?
I'm ready. Let's go. So as quickly as you ask, I'm going to try to answer them just as quickly.
Let's see what happens. If you could make snow any color on the entire planet, what color would you pick?
Ooh, interesting. Purple.
Oh. You're the first one, and that's my color choice. Oh, I know we're like, okay, in a past life, we had to be like best friends or something because nobody else has said purple but you and me. All right, good. I finally got my right answer. If you had to pick one drink that you could drink for the rest of your life, would it be sweet, sour, or strong?
It'd be root beer.
Homemade root beer or like, you know.
All of the above. I'm agnostic when it comes to root beer. I'm all about the root beer and water. Those are the two things I drink, Cindy. Root beer and water.
Where did the root beer come from?
I'm a big fan of it. You know, it's probably because it does skew more sweet. It's available in a lot of places that you can go. I don't drink alcohol. So I'm like, oh, this is something that I can probably get at a bar, probably get at a restaurant, definitely get in my own home. I'm a 6'2" child. Let's just call it what it is.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is the follow-up question then to that. Does root beer really go with vanilla ice cream or should they stay separate?
100% it goes with vanilla ice cream, but it also stands alone. It's a yes and conversation.
Fair enough. All right. Case of root beer for my friend Joey, if you guys want to send him a gift, right? All right. If you could be an Olympic athlete and excel at that sport, what sport would you pick?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I'm going for speed answer. Let me say decathlon. I picked 10.
Yes?
I'll pick 10 sports. I'll be the decathlete.
You're an overachiever, my friend Joey. All right, that's good. Now, you know, there's always this burning question of like, if you could have lunch with somebody dead or alive, who would you pick? Here's the deal. I truly don't care because I don't think it's that important who you have lunch with. I want to know what you're eating.
What am I eating in general? At that meal? Oh, okay. Fair enough. Ideally, I'm eating a customized meal that has been created to pull on nostalgic moments from the other people at the meal's past so that we can kind of trigger a little bit of a, sensory experience for them that gets them telling stories.
I'm exhausted. That requires way too much effort.
Fair enough. I didn't say I'd prepare the meal. You just asked what would I be eating. That's the difference. I definitely did not prepare it. I just ordered it in advance.
You sort of skirted around that, though, because like you didn't give me one food item.
Oh, well, so the question would be for me personally. I want them to eat the things from their childhood and history.
Okay, so you're having dinner with, Abe Lincoln or whoever it is that you pick.
Abe Lincoln probably didn't have sushi. I'd love to see what he thought of sushi.
Okay, so sushi is the answer. These are not fast answers, Joey. All right. You're not going to like this one. I'm going to ask it anyway. It was inspired by something you said earlier. If you couldn't cheer for Notre Dame, who would you pick?
If I couldn't cheer for Notre Dame, that'd be my wife's alma mater, Smith College.
Oh, that's going to get you a home cooked meal, isn't it?
See how that quick that was?
I like how you work that in. Very important. And lastly, absolute last, what was your favorite thing about doing the podcast today?
Oh, clearly the host. I mean, that's always the best part of interacting with you. I mean, I love the questions and hopefully provided some answers that are useful to your listeners, but it's just always a pleasure to get a chance to connect with you. I think your energy is infectious and I've enjoyed the conversation.
Well, I have to tell you that my favorite thing is very similar because when you and I first met, the selflessness, the amount of information you provided me, the kindness, the energy, just really unbelievable. Most people aren't doing that, and that's why you are now an expert on how to keep and maintain customers and employees. So please, I hope that you will check out his books, How to Never Lose a Customer Again, How to Never Lose an Employee Again. Where do we find those, Joey?
You can find those anywhere you like books in any format. We've got hardcover, we've got ebook, we've got audiobook that I narrate. So if you've enjoyed the sound of my voice, I'll read the books to you. Never Lose a Customer Again, Never Lose an Employee Again by Joey Coleman.
I love it. I put a how-to in front. I apologize.
That's all good. The result of reading the book is you'll know how to do it.
That's perfect. Sometimes I can't even remember the name of my own book, Joey, and I screw that up.
understand.
So,
Trust me, I get it.
everybody got the gist. So how else, is there anything else you want to share with everybody, how they can find you, where they can see you, how they can employ you? What do you want to share?
Best place to find me is on my website, joeycoleman.com. That's Joey, like a baby kangaroo or a 5-year-old, Coleman, Coleman, like the camping equipment if you're based in North America, but no relation. Joeycoleman.com. You can find information about my speaking, about my books, about the consulting I do. And I'll just say, I wish everybody listening the very best of luck as you go out to create the kind of personal and emotional connections and analog interactions that will help you stand out in this increasingly non-personal, digitized world.
I love it. You guys, please make sure you follow Joey. Check out his books. Keep watching for what's next, because I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fabulous no matter what it is. If you want more information about me, you can find me at hello@drsindyspeaks.com. And if you're interested in reading my book, Positively Altered, I'm available wherever you can buy books, I think, as well. And Joey, I appreciate your time, your energy, and your information. I hope everybody today was positively altered.